We are misguided in thinking that in less developed countries, everybody wants to take advantage of what our countries offer, with little appreciation for what their own countries give them. Nevertheless, while many people do not want to migrate, we can rest assured that some certainly will, but it's very likely that they will migrate internally or to regional destinations. These assumptions generate a climate of fear, of constant invasion by a foreign, dangerous, destitute, freeloading other, which calls for the need of self-protection. In a 2016 article by Massey, Duran, and Pren entitled "Why Border Enforcement Backfired," we read that, whenever a policy is derived in a climate of fear without any real understanding of the actual workings of the social or economic system it aspires to influence, the stage is set for unintended consequences, end quote. So we forget evidence that migrants often try to obtain visas and permits the legal way before resorting to asylum or irregular channels. That migrants with regular status have higher incentives to circulate and return. That the militarization of border controls is a counterproductive way of controlling migration. That people who cannot migrate often experience this prohibition as a straitjacket from which they want to escape. And that some of the traditional origin countries are themselves undergoing processes of development which may result in the diversification of destinations in the future. Instead, we start blaming and combating smugglers, the lack of cooperation of origin countries, and ultimately migrants themselves. Why do we choose to continue on such a faulty path? The previously mentioned article revealed a dangerous dynamic. Mexican migration was politicized and turned into a crisis by a trio of self-interested politicians, bureaucrats, and pundits who created an enemy, the undocumented Mexican migrant, to be feared because responsible for many social problems and thus a threat to the nation. The payback for this trio: mobilized constituencies for politicians, funding for the immigration bureaucrats, and increased book sales for pundits. Now, are we stuck in such a vicious cycle? I hold no such evidence for the EU context, but we certainly cannot deny that we have created a climate of fear and a self-inflicted bottleneck at our external borders, with numerous deaths, more smuggling and trafficking, and a greater mixing of people seeking a better future and people engaged in criminal activities. While credit must be given to the steps taken by the Commission to open more legal pathways to migration, we observe a similar bundle of policy solutions embedded in a discourse that continues to stress strengthening the protection of our external borders due to high migratory pressure in Europe. Do we sincerely expect different outcomes if our policies continuously fail to consider the realities in which people make migration decisions? It's clearly difficult to extricate ourselves from this dangerous cycle of fear-based policies. But it is possible. We could work on reducing the public sphere by reminding people of the inner workings of our interconnected economies, our own recent histories of immigration, and the many ways in which we, with some sense of entitlement, remain highly mobile to travel, study and work abroad, or retirement to inexpensive places in the sun. We must prompt the question, why should we alone enjoy these privileges? Why couldn't travel and migration be one of the options available to people around the world as it is for us?